Good morning, friends, moms of teens and tweens. I'm going to get this, I got to prop my phone up somewhere. I just got done teaching, and as soon as Lisa pops on here, whenever you get here, let me know you're here and where you're watching from. And I'm excited that you all are joining me for this interview today with Lisa. We're going to have a good time today. So let me know whenever you're here and where you're coming from, and pull up my questions. I sent Lisa some questions that we're going to be asking. So when Lisa pops on, I will add her to the broadcast. I know this is kind of early for some of you, but this is what works for my schedule. And like last time, you can always watch the replay. So I'm glad you're joining me. And Lisa, let me add you to the broadcast. I got to pull up my charger. Hold on one second. And hopefully, yay, Lisa, it worked. Aren't you glad we practiced yesterday?
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I can set my phone up where it won't fall here on my laptop. It doesn't really want to stay, but I don't want y'all to look like you're eating me because this is so big. How are you, Lisa?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You look so beautiful and fresh.
Oh, way better
You
than
clean
me
it.
after a long day of teaching.
I know. So Lisa, tell my friends that are watching about you. Where do you teach and what do you do, and how old are your kids? That kind of stuff.
Okay, well, I've been married for like forever, and I got married at 16, and Steve and I became parents at 17 when I was 17. So
Oh my goodness. I can't believe your parents let you get married that young.
well, my mom really liked Steve. She thought he was awesome, and I think she must have had some sort of foresight thing going on that she knew he was going to be the most amazing husband ever. So
Were you still in high school?
oh yeah, yeah,
Did you guys both live at home with your parents?
yeah, yeah. We got married the summer between my junior and senior years of high school. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And how many years did you say you've been married now?
We're coming up on 38. So
Goodness. No, that's unbelievable. So, if since we're all moms of tweens and teens, would you recommend us letting our kids get married at the age of 16 now?
not necessarily. I tell you what, I would hate to recommend against it because it's, obviously, God had something in mind when Steve did
Right.
that. But, and honestly, I have a kind of an unpopular opinion that, young marriage and, parenting young is not the horrible thing that, I think that it can be an awesome thing. And I look back over, years in the past and everything, and, our culture used to be a lot more supportive of that, and I think getting married younger
Yes.
makes more sense biologically. Just the way we're designed and the way our bodies are, designed to develop
Yes.
and that kind of thing. So we were not designed to, wait until we were 25 to get married and, and have kids and,
Yeah.
30 and, stuff like that. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that. That's your choice. That's great. But I mean, just strictly
Yeah.
biologically, I think we're set up, to, our bodies, mature at certain age and things like
Yeah.
that. So I think ideally,
It's no,
you know, so, and, I have to tell
well,
Steve,
it's no wonder that all the hormones are raging for teenagers.
yeah, for sure. And I tell you what, we, have our grandbabies now, and it's like, oh boy, how did we do this? So, having when we were younger, might not have been such a bad idea. But anyway, I skipped over the part where we have 5 kids. Our oldest is 37, and we have, I have to think about it for a second. I think he's 33. I get all confused about how old they are.
Good
And then
morning, Nikaya.
we have Trevor is about to turn 27. Matt is 25 today. And
Oh, yay.
yeah, so happy birthday, Maddie. And then Rosie is going to be 23 in May. So the baby
Oh my
is,
goodness.
so
The
we have
baby.
4 boys, 4 sons, and 1 daughter, and she's the baby. So
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. So you have officially made it through the teen parenting years. And if you are just joining us, thank you for joining us. Let me know that you're here whenever you pop on, and ask any questions throughout the broadcast if you have any questions, because I have some questions I have for Lisa. But if you have other ones that you're struggling with something today that's pertinent, that you're like, I don't know how to solve this problem, type it in the comment box, and Lisa and I will try to answer it, or maybe even somebody else in here answer it. So, hi, Jamie. And okay, so my first question for you, Lisa, is what is your favorite memory of parenting your teens?
Um,
Do you have any memories still from
yeah,
that?
yes. And the problem with that one is that I have too many.
Okay.
You know, that it's a long, I've been a mom a long
Well,
time.
maybe share a good one, and share one that you that was maybe not so good. Like, I don't know. I mean, just whatever you think about parenting your teens that you remember most.
Well, I made a few notes, and of course, seeing them accept Christ was the I mean, I can't
Yeah,
even imagine a better memory than that. And
awesome.
I got to baptize our daughter, so that was like a big highlight of my life.
Oh,
So, and
that's
that,
cool.
yeah, so that was really neat. I think seeing them do things for one another, seeing them serve one another, and do loving things for one another. One of the memories that pops out quickly in my mind is actually Matt, the birthday boy. He our boys played little league for about 10 years total, from
Uh-huh.
the oldest one down to Trevor and Matt both played, and they actually all five played a little bit. But when they we were Trevor was playing his very last game, which was going to mark our last game as a little league family after all
Yeah.
these years. Trevor played his game, and we finished, and it was kind of tearful because that's the end of an era for us.
Yeah.
So we're all getting finished, and the hustle and bustle of getting everybody gathered up, and all five kids, and everybody together. We get home, and I'm kind of watching, in the kitchen. I see Matt and Trevor in the kitchen, and they're still, in their clothes, baseball
Uniform.
field clothes or whatever. And Matt pulls his hand out from behind his back and opens his hand, and he has clay off the pitcher's mound that he had gathered
Oh,
up and
it's
kept
just,
for Trevor. And
oh,
and of course he's a little embarrassed, so he
yeah.
kind of holds his head down, and he reaches out and kind of puts it in Trevor's hand, and Trevor's standing there looking at it and looks up at me. And I don't think he quite knew what to do, but it was just such a tender moment between
Uh-huh.
them. And of course, Matt just shuffled off, and couldn't,
Yeah.
it was
He's
just
Mr.
so
Cool.
boy. But I took a little film canister and put that clay in there, and capped it off, and we labeled it and kept it. And so that's just a sweet memory. We have a lot of
Yeah.
those, that kind of thing that happened. And the other thing for our memories or whatever is funny things. We are a funny family, and we just have
Yeah.
always loved humor. I know you appreciate that.
Yes, we
One of
like to
my
laugh a
favorite
lot.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories about regarding that is just one night. I don't know what possessed me, but we were just sitting at dinner, and it was one of those, just every day, dinner, same thing, every night or
Yes.
whatever. And I
Yes.
just decided to pick up a pea and flick it at my husband. And I
Did you
picked it
start
up,
a
and he
food
looks
fight?
at me, and he's like, "Oh yeah." He flicks one back at me, and it was like it was on. We just flicked peas everywhere. They went all over the dining
Oh.
room. I mean, we picked up peas for weeks after that. And we were finding little hard peas. We were stepping on hard peas like a month later. But it was
So,
really funny and memorable. So,
so are you saying that we should have some more fun with our kids and don't worry about the mess?
I am definitely
Yeah.
saying that. So those are the
Yeah.
memories that they'll remember. So,
Right. That's true, especially with teens, I would think, especially. Okay, my next question for you is what is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made in your teens?
um, I, first off, raising them in church. I don't think there's can be any, and nothing can top that. Raising them in the Lord. Just having them in
Yeah.
church and involved in that community. And
Uh-huh.
I just, they were involved. They had friends, that their friend group, tended to circulate around church, and that was always a good thing. Not
Did
always
your kids
perfect, but
always want, did they always want to go to church, or
pretty
was there
much.
some,
Yeah, that was our
yeah,
culture. Yeah, that was our pretty
Okay.
much our culture as a family. And, I think we all go through little seasons where we're like, yeah, I'm just tired. I don't want to go, but as
Yeah.
far as like them, they seem to always, and church is not always a hunky dory place. There are,
Right.
you get injured and you get upset. And, as they've become adults, it's been tough for me to see, we've been through, injuries or whatever, from people
Right.
at church, and then watching them go through that too now in adulthood is difficult
Uh-huh.
because it can cause you to not, it can cause you to pull away from that community and that kind of thing. So that's
Right.
something that as a mom of adults, which is another conversation,
Yes.
that's a toughie for me. But anyway, so definitely raising them in the church,
Okay.
becoming first time obedience parents. I know that's kind of a weird
Okay.
term. That was one of the best investments we made. It was tough at first. And it didn't
Explain that
happen
to what if somebody's never heard of making your kids, a first time obedience. So what does that look like?
right. We, when our oldest was about 5.5, we didn't even realize we were young. I mean, we were just super young parents and we had no clue. And,
Uh-huh.
we were very inconsistent. I think that was the problem. I mean, we had a kid on our hands who read the newspaper at 4. So he was always 10
Oh,
steps ahead of us,
yeah.
he just always. And then, Luke came along, and Luke was just glad to be alive. He just was loved the Lord, loved the world, loved us. That was his
Right.
life, was pleasing us and the world, that was all life was about. So, complete polar opposites, but we were, juggling this crazy, how do we do this, and a
Right.
really close friend of ours came to us and said, guys, I love you, but nobody wants your kid around. Nobody wants your son. Our oldest was just a terror, and we didn't realize it because he didn't
Yeah.
do it around us. He was just awful around other people. So, okay, there went my whatever. But
Oh, that's
so
good.
yeah, so he was just awful around other people. So we basically were like, help us. We don't know what to do. So he was like,
Right.
you've got to stop with the inconsistent. You've got to be consistent. You've got to be consistent, and you've got to mean what you say, and you got to follow through. And so we were like,
Okay.
okay, tell us how. And he kind of walked us through some principles as far as like, don't sit there and count. Don't you look ridiculous standing there counting.
Uh-huh.
Just tell your child to do what you want him to do, and be reasonable in the amount of time,
Right.
split second or whatever. But don't do that whole, he knows if you're a second time parent, third time parent, eighth time parent,
Right.
if you're going to go to that 4, 5, 12,
Uh,
that kind of thing, it
yeah.
just makes you look silly. And it creates an atmosphere of disobedience is what it is, that waiting,
Okay.
making you wait, and
Right.
so when I first heard of the program, Growing Kids God's Way,
Growing. Right. Growing kids God's
I,
way.
I
Yeah.
thought, I thought, oh, this is awful. This is so just so, regimented. It's not us at all. And then I got
Uh-huh.
thinking, well, wait a minute, and maybe I misjudged it, because really it is based on that same principle that we kind of picked up. And going back to that story, we basically turned completely 180 that day
Uh-huh.
and changed everything about our parenting that day.
Right.
It happened
Mm.
right away. And we just, he came home from kindergarten. He went to kindergarten in public school, kindergarten in first grade. And when he came home from school that day, it was like, okay, sweetheart, we're really sorry. We failed you as parents up to now.
Uh-huh.
That stops today.
Right.
We've let you get by with things that you should not have gotten by with. And that's our fault. And we take responsibility for that. But as of today,
Right.
you're no longer going to run over everybody around you. That we love
Right.
you too much for that. But I do want to share the fence principle
Okay.
that
Yes.
our friend Danny shared with us, because it changed our life. It literally changed ours and
Yeah.
our kids' lives. But he said, if you imagine yourself suddenly waking up out of nowhere, just kind of, suddenly with in a dark place, you can't see anything. All you know is that there's a fence around you. And maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're in a 50-foot radius, you've got a fence around you. You can't see what's out there. You can hear noises. You can hear noises out from
Right.
somewhere out there, but you don't know.
Right.
All you know is that the only thing that's separating you from the out there is a fence. And he said,
Okay.
after some time, you get acclimated, you start walking around, you start examining that fence. You start checking it out to see where it is, where, what how much
Mm-hmm.
room you've got, how much space you've got. And then when you start hearing those strange noises coming from out there, you're like, okay, so what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to check the strength of that fence. you're going to
Right.
check it. You know, you're going to go around and you're going to check different
Right.
places to make sure that it's strong. And the minute you start shaking that fence and it starts wavering and wiggling and moving, that's a scary
Uh-huh.
thing. That's a really scary thing because, you know, that little part of you wants to get the fence down and get out there. A
Right.
big part of you is terrified of what's out there because you don't know, you know,
Right.
you have no idea of knowing what's out there and what it could do to you. So, you know, you're
Right.
kind of counting on that fence to stand strong. And when it doesn't, it's terrifying. And so all kinds of behaviors, I think, originate there, where you've got
Yes.
you're pushing on that fence and it's starting to fall. And the people you should be able to count on most to keep you safest
Uh-huh.
from harm or from whatever, you're not
Right.
able to count on them. That's that moment that you realize they're not stronger than me. And it's kind of
Right.
the feeling like we might get if we thought God was not stronger
Right.
than us or not smarter than us or not, you know, if we were like equal to him in some way or whatever.
Right.
What a terrifying thought that would be, you
Yeah.
know. So, but
So
that
you're
changed
saying
everything.
even with the teens, us as parents have got to continue to stay that strong fence, put those
Right.
strong boundaries.
And I do recommend, you know, to the parents who are emerging, you know, into that stage, don't wait. Please don't wait until they get to that age to
Right.
put your foot down
Put the fence.
and you know,
Yeah.
start that early if you can. If you haven't and you find
Yeah.
yourself at that point, then I tell you what, I would go back and listen to Kelly Wilde again and you know
Yeah.
wow, some great principles. I took some notes on her
Oh, good. You were able to
interview.
watch her.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was amazing, and I think, and I would just go back and watch that. I tell you what, if I were fostering or parenting, you know, all of
Right.
a sudden, and got teens from another family or something like that, that I were parenting, I would definitely want to watch that about 12 times. So
I know she's got lots of great, and that's why I want to keep doing these interviews because we want to learn as much as we can from you seasoned moms who've been through it. So, okay, well, let me go to my next question is, what failure or apparent failure in parenting taught you the most? And if you could, you would teach it to others. And do you have like a favorite failure of yours in parenting? Like a failure that you feel like it was a failure, but yet it really served you well in the long run, or you learned a great lesson from it?
well, it's kind of funny because it ties into my other most worthwhile investment that I'd never
Yeah.
mentioned, which was probably one of the most important things we ever did. But our first impression of homeschooling was, how insecure do people have to be not to send their kids to school? I'm not even lying. That was my response, and I'm so ashamed of that. But when, you know, Jeff went to school for those 2 years, and then his teacher was like, we have no idea what to do with him because
Uh-huh.
he's finished everything and he's done everything, and we just don't really know how to teach him
Right.
anymore. So we're not really sure what to do. So I, you know, basically we were like, well, we could look into homeschooling, I guess, you know, but
Right.
that was kind of one of those things where, I don't know if I want to do that, but I guess we should look into it because we don't really have a choice. So we
Right.
did, and that was the, I think that completely shaped our family's life. It you know, it bonded us together as a family. It bonded our kids together as siblings, and I think it had a
Right.
lot to do, the fact that they were together so much. They, you know, they were able to pursue their own directions, each one of them. We had
Right.
5 very different people, you know, that we raised, and they, you know, they were each able to go their specific ways and learn
Uh-huh.
along their own path. You know, a lot, owing a lot to
Yeah.
homeschooling. So I would
Yeah.
say that failure, you know, as far as like, you know, I wouldn't consider it a failure at all now, but in the beginning I thought
Right.
it was a concession, you know, like, you know, what are we going to do?
Uh,
We don't know what to do with our kids. So it ended up being the
but
most wonderful thing. So
That's awesome. Yes, if you happen to be a homeschool mom on here, you need to reach out to Lisa afterwards, which I'll share her information. So if you have more questions, that's my first meeting with Lisa was at a homeschool meeting. So, but not that you have to homeschool by any means, because
no.
it is not the solution, the end all be all for anyone too. Because I know there's a lot of moms and teens that they're sending their kids to school too, and so. But for Lisa and her family, it definitely worked out, and she's of course learned a lot of parenting advice through that. So
Right.
hi Yvette, and if you're watching, make sure you pop in and let me know that you're here, and if you have any questions as we're going along, please ask your questions. So all right, my next question for you, Lisa, is what is a tradition that you had with your kids as teens?
Um,
Or if you didn't have any, what would you wish that you had done for a tradition?
Well, one tradition that we've always had that we always joke about, and it's not funny, but I mean, it's like we've always made "I love you" the last words we say to each other when we leave or when we go to bed, or really just about any time. So it gets kind of comical if somebody's leaving and you say "I love you," so, oh, did you forget your wallet, or did you get your wallet? Okay, love you. Oh, don't forget to stop by the post office. Love you. So you say "love you" 12 times before they leave because they haven't left yet. So that's got to be the last words. So we laugh about it. That's
a great one though. Yeah. That's good. I think that's great. Okay. How did you handle sibling relationships, and are your kids close with each other today? How did you handle that in the teen years?
Anybody who sees our kids today would laugh, because when they see each other,
turn that down, please.
When they see each other,
sorry,
they literally, they literally run to each other and either the guys chest bump each other or whatever, and they all just hug each other like they haven't seen each other in a year. It's so funny. So they're pretty.
Did they fight a lot as teens though? Did they fight a lot and fuss with one another?
They didn't fight a lot. I mean, I won't say they never did, because they obviously did have disagreements and things. And the age range was so weird with our kids, because the first three are 5 years apart, and then 3, 4, and 5 are 2 years apart. So Trevor and Matt, there are 2 years apart, and they're the youngest boys, and they were very competitive with one another. I mean, they were constantly at each other about something. And then, the older boys too, they would always play tape ball outside, or, wiffle ball or whatever. And they were all so they would get pretty competitive with each other with playing outside, or playing, games inside, or video games.
Did you have any good rules or anything like that helped them out whenever they were fighting with one another or fussing about things?
They were not allowed to get physical with each other. That's one thing we never allowed. And we actually had people tell us, and that goes down to one of your other questions of bad parenting advice. But we had people tell us, you got to let them duke it out. It's just, you're raising wimps. You can't tell them. And I'm like, I want to teach my child to, resolve conflict by duking it out. That doesn't make any sense to me. So we never wanted to do that. And we taught them that, the family's feelings matter. Other people's feelings matter. And that, our family, we told them, you guys will have each other long after we're gone. You will be together, and you will be family, and we will all, I'll be family, but, long after us, you're going to be, you want to be cohesive and build relationship now so that it's strong later. And that they can see that we're all
that's such a good reminder. I'm like, you are your sister's best friend, and I don't care if you hate each other right now. You guys have got to look out for one another and protect one another. So that's awesome.
One thing we did too was that we used we tried to look for opportunities to build a servant heart toward one another. That's something that we did. Like if one of them said, "Oh, well, it wasn't my turn to empty the trash or whatever," and I was like, "What a great opportunity for you to serve your brother." Isn't that awesome? God gave you this.
Okay, did y'all need to take notes on that one? Yes.
So that's just a sweet opportunity. That just popped up. Can you believe that? What a God thing. Look at that. Wow. How blessed is Matt today? Because you just did his job for him. Whoa. I'm so happy about that. So,
so how many eye rolls did you get whenever, when you were bringing those type of opportunities up?
Probably 1,000 or so, but it didn't matter, because we were laughing through it, and we had a pretty short fuse when it came to disrespect. So we didn't, and the kids knew that. It was kind of our family culture. So they wouldn't have been like, oh, but it would have been like, oh, Mom, you're so goofy, But they would do it.
Great.
They would do it for each other, and so that created habits. And eventually we noticed that they weren't even really mentioning it anymore. Then it went to, well, it was my turn, but I'll serve my brother, ha ha ha, and then it went from that to just doing it,
Right.
But they do a lot of that by example too, because their dad, I try my best to be that way too, but their dad was like that. He's always been very servant hearted, and he doesn't.
Right.
look for fanfare or ask for an
Yeah.
invitation to do it, something around the
Yeah,
house.
it just goes and serves. That's all. That's so. I'm gonna try to set this up a little. That's awesome. I love that. I'm totally using that with my kids. Like, now look, it's an opportunity to serve your brother. Okay,
Yeah.
so my next question was, what advice would you give a parent struggling to connect with their teen?
I would say, first off, be real, be honest, own your
Right.
mistakes, ask for forgiveness from your kids. I mean, I think they love and respect that, and it kind of builds relationship between you if they know that you're willing to say you're sorry for, or be specific about what
Yeah.
you're apologizing for, obviously. But then maybe ask your teen, how do you see a good relationship? What does that look like to you?
Right.
What is a good, what would you see as a cool, awesome, something, a relationship you'd be happy with?
Right.
And get them to describe that, give you their vision, and then maybe you
Right.
share your vision with them, and talk about how they're similar, how they're different, and how
Right.
maybe they could kind of come together and be like, hey, I see this being a really good relationship, and then talk about,
Right.
okay, how do we get there? How can we build
Yeah.
that? What are some things we can do to build that, and get kind of a team player thing going on there,
Uh-huh.
where
Did
it's a
you
team effort.
do one-on-one things with your teens, or I mean, you have five of them, and I mean, were you like trying to do one-on-one, like, I don't know, coffee dates, or going to the park or walk? How did you form those relationships with each kid so that they weren't, I mean, how'd you spread yourself through all the kids?
Well, it wasn't easy, and I mean, we did as much as we could. We did have that, what you call that, value. We did value, going out with individually with our kids. I wouldn't say we did it all the time, but we did try
Right.
to, we did try to do that when we could. And I mean, one of the profile pictures I put on Facebook about a week ago was one where it's Matt and me, at Chili's,
Mm-hmm.
and it says eat more chili behind us or whatever. But that was one
Yeah.
of our mom son dates that we were
Yeah.
that we went on, a few years ago, several years ago. But yeah, that was one of our times, and so we did try to do
That's
that one-on-one time. So
okay. Yeah, my kids all want that one-on-one time. They want it probably more with dad than they want it with me, actually. So I think because they're with me all the time. Okay, so let me see our next. Now that you've made it through the teen years, what do you love about parenting adults, and what do us teen moms have to look forward to?
well, I would say that next to my husband, our adult kids are our best friends. And
Uh-huh.
they have grown into people that we absolutely love. We dig hanging out with them. We love spending time with
Yeah.
them. And parenting adults is hard, and I'm still learning the ropes. But they say that when you have a child, it's your heart walking around in someone else's body. And so I have my heart
Yeah.
walking around in 5 different bodies, and it's one thing for that to be it when they're young, and you can pick them up and move them, or you got a little bit of control over that. But when they're adults,
Right.
it's like you don't, you're kind of watching. But those seeds that you sow, especially during those preteen and teen years,
Mhm.
that build those relationships that you can look at and be like, wow, okay, I see where this was going now. So I
Right.
would say look forward to the relationship that you're building now, because these
Okay.
bricks that you're setting into place now, those heart to heart talks that, like Kelly said, at 10:30 at night, those
Yeah.
moments where you do just step back and be like, you know what? I, I'm not really sure how I feel about this right now, but let's think about it a little bit. Let's pray about it.
Right.
Let's sit down right now,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about it. Because I want to hear your heart. That's something I learned from
Right.
Kristen Bonham. That's a phrase that she uses a lot, is I want to hear your heart. And I think as
Okay.
moms, that's something that our teens need to hear from us.
Yeah, I think that's really good because I know as moms of ones that are teenagers and ones that are still little, I feel like my time is spent all over the place. And so really taking that time of I want to hear I want to hear your heart. What's going on? Why are you
Right.
acting this way? Okay, let's see. What is the book or books that you would give a mom of teens as a gift, and why? And what are one of the three books that have greatly influenced your life in regards to parenting?
Let's see. I would say it's funny because it's the principles behind Growing Kids God's Way. Although we never really, we kind of came into that before the book came out. We kind of did some of
Okay.
those principles already, and so when the
Uh-huh.
book came out, it made a lot of sense and everything. So I would say, I don't. want to say that that book changed our lives because I didn't really know about it, but those were the principles. So I would say that's something I would recommend. And then, you know, love languages of children. And then I found out there is one for teens specifically.
Yes,
so,
I have that one actually.
Yeah,
I may share that one here in the group.
Yeah, I haven't read that one, but and then Shepherding a Child's Heart by Ted Tripp is another good one. That's one that I think a lot of homeschooling families use and everything.
Right.
So,
Shepherding a Child's Heart. Okay, I'll leave all these in a comment and on when I share the thing. All right. So what bad parenting recommendations do you hear or see in your peers?
Well, I mentioned that one earlier about telling them to just tell them to duke it out or whatever like that. Or I think one of the catchwords for today is mindfulness. And I think that is very, very important, but I think we can also take that a little too far sometimes where it's all about, reasoning.
Sorry,
and it's
Lisa.
not, that's okay.
Right, go get your Hold on, let me
do it live, girl.
Hold on. This we have a screen on that is like blaring. Turn that off. Okay, a couple more real quick and then we're going to close this out.
Okay.
When you have felt overwhelmed and wanted to throw in the towel of parenting your teens, what did you do? And like what questions would you ask yourself? So when you wanted to throw in the towel, what'd you do?
Well, I kept saying to myself, it has to get better. And it did. And I felt like hormone upheaval, that hormone changing stuff, had to get, had to improve and everything. And I will say that evening primrose oil caplets were my best friend, and we called them happy pills in our family. So we went to Walmart and bought a $5 bottle of evening primrose oil, and we'd poke a hole in the end of it and squeeze it out and put it on the bottom of their feet, or have them take the caplet if they could.
For the kids, not just for you?
Oh, girl. Our kids, it's amazing for balancing hormones, and it doesn't matter the age. So
really, I took evening primrose oil right before I was going to give birth because I heard it helps with like contractions and stuff like that. But I didn't know that about like calming kids down.
Oh yeah, it's a great hormone balancer for sure, and it's natural, so that's a good thing about it too. So.
Oh, okay, evening primrose oil. Maybe I will definitely share that. So, all right, well, Lisa, if a mom wants to connect with you to learn more, if a mom wants to connect with you to learn more, what should she do?
Well, I'm on Facebook under Lisa Easterling, as you can see. You can go to lisaeasterling.com. Or you could just go straight to my blog, which is lisaeasterling.wordpress.com. And then my email address, which you can put in the bottom there, is lisalukeasterling@gmail.com. So.
All right, I will put that in there, Lisa. And thank you, Corey, for joining me and Lisa today in our interview. Thank you, Lisa, for your time. Thank you, moms, for joining me. And what does that say? Best mom ever. Yes. She is the best mom ever. I'm telling you. See, they're always interrupting, right? No.
It's got her hands around.
Look at her. This is why I don't do this. I tried to go live earlier, but all right, Lisa, thank you so much for all of your wisdom and your advice. I so appreciate you. And if you'll type in the comments, hush. If you'll type in the comments your contact info, that would be awesome. All right. Bye.
I love you, girl.
All right.
Take care.
Love you. Thank you, Lisa.